Two, actually, there's not going to be a single system in which you're going to have that much difficulty analyzing. Putting all the pieces of the puzzle together to give a good picture of the future of the car, that might be a little bit harder.
But there are no real mysteries.
Well, yeah, there is one area where a mystery, a sort of mystery arises, and that's with the electrical system, because an electrical system work, when it begins to deteriorate at one point, it's deteriorating at others, and no matter how much money and time you put into solving any one problem, the others are going to follow. Mm-hmm. So that is the area with the most difficult prediction.
And that electrical system can get really expensive because of the labor time in trying to track down a problem.
Yes.
And the worst is an intermittent problem, right?
That's absolutely true. I used to have an old VW that had a problem at 60 miles an hour. There was no way to diagnose it.
Mm-hmm. You take your mechanic out and let him hang out the window, huh?
And that was it.
My guest is Frank Schilling. We're talking about how to buy a used car. Let's take a call from Mike in Benicia. Mike, you're on the Giant 68 KNBR. What's your question?
Well, I was just listening to the other caller, and he said he's in sales and has a lot of miles on his vehicle. I'm in the same predicament right now, and my car is an 87. Actually, it's a truck. It's a Pathfinder, and it's got 98,000 miles on it. And I'm looking to sell it, and I got some high and blue book, put some high blue book and some low blue book rates on it, and I'm not sure which way to lean when I sell the vehicle, you know, because there's a $3,000 spread between high and low. And what do you recommend?
That's actually a very easy problem to work on. You start high and work low. With local advertising papers, the cost of advertising is so slight, maybe $5 or $6 a week. Even you go to the Corona Trib, it's only going to cost you $25 a weekend. Start with a high price and work down unless you're in a big hurry.
High price and work down, huh?
Right, he says unless you're in a big hurry to move it.
Well, I would like to move it, but another thing is, and I'm using as a selling point in this, is that even though it's got a lot of miles, I've been told by the dealership, I bring to the dealership, and they maintain it every 15 to 20,000 miles or whatever the book recommends. And I would think someone would be more confident buying a new vehicle with high miles that's been serviced well than, say, a vehicle 4 or 5 years old with less mileage that you aren't sure how it's been serviced. So I know mileage scares a lot of people away, but wouldn't you think that you'd be better off with a vehicle with high miles that's newer that's been serviced well over the years?
Given the problems you have in selling it, you really don't have to work that equation out. All you're going to have is the people who are going to read your ads, put the ads in at a high price, and work from your feedback down. You don't have to do this calculus. Just all you need is one customer.
Yeah, that's true. Just takes one buyer. Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Good to hear from you. Good luck selling that. We just have about a minute left here, Frank, and one question I have is about the advertising that we see more and more from Hertz and Avis selling their fleets of used cars. And I know how I drive a car when I rent it. I don't mind kicking it, I don't mind pushing it, I don't mind running over things. You kind of feel like these are indestructible cars that you don't own, and as long as you don't do any visible damage, you can get away with it. Do you think most people drive rent-a-cars that way, and are they a risky investment?
Oh, I can give you specific information on that. From my experience, when you see a rental car advertised with 30,000 miles on it, it is going to be the equivalent of a car that's been owned by a regular person with 60,000 miles on it.
Twice as many.
Twice as many. Mm-hmm. Maybe down a few percent from that, but virtually twice as many. I check out, a couple of dozen a year, and that fact has remained pretty constant.
And what about the warranties they offer? Do they offset the risk there, or not good enough?
Well, it all depends on how good your magnifying glass is to read all that fine print. The warranties that I have read have been such that they could legally be interpreted in such a variety of manners that I was not able to determine, not being a lawyer, not knowing the case histories, what their worth was. Also, you must remember that there are some dealers who consider the cost of litigation as a normal cost of their business. They expect to be spending $1,000 a month on a lawyer, and they're perfectly willing to hand out a warranty and go to court over it, whereas that's a traumatic situation for the individual buyer for which they are not prepared at all.
Frank, if people want to get in touch with you to talk about a used car, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, I'm at 547-2447. It's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week number, and I'll be happy to talk to you.
Frank Schilling, thanks for joining us. We'll have you back again soon to talk about cars here on the Giant 68 KNBR.
When you're true to the passion, you got to ski. And Alpine Meadows is gonna set you free.
Where to ski this weekend? No contest. Let's go to Alpine Meadows. Oh, you'll love Alpine. First we'll cruise the wide open groomed runs on both sides of the mountain. Hey, then we'll head to the top. The steep chutes and bumps. Hey, that new high-speed